Big time fight for the strawweight title in a rematch 2,703 days in the making. We have Rose Namajunas, Thug Rose taking on the Cookie Monster, Carla Esparza. I don't like the nickname the Cookie Monster. I don't like Cheesecake or Cupcake as nicknames either. Just, don't go with that, please. But what I can say is that the waiting game paid off for Carla Esparza.
Craig No Nickname Allen's talking a lot of jazz about other people's nicknames.
Maybe I should give myself a nickname. Like, listen, Slim
Don't
Reaper's...
be Greg Hardy, you can't.
Slim Reaper's already out there. I could go with something like that. But when it comes to this fight coming up this weekend, for Esparza, she beats Yan Xiaonan. She shoots her shot for a title. Dana White goes, whoa, hold on now. And ultimately holding on now, again, it did pay off. So that fight that she had against Yan Xiaonan, where she surprisingly won by finish, was 11 months ago. Before that, wins over Marina Rodrigues, the hotness in this division, Michelle Waterson, Alexa Grasso, and Vina Jandiroba. Big ones nonetheless. And for Esparza, very close fights in certain fights. Some fights, like her last one, she completely dominates and excels in. And a tough test against Rose Namajunas. We look at the 5-on-in, the fights that she's had against Joanna, the fight against Jessica Andrade, but then to beat Andrade the next time out, Zhang Weili to finish her, and then to win by split decision in her last fight. That last one against Zhang Weili was almost 6 months ago, so it's been a little bit of time since we've seen Rose Namajunas as well. But again, it's just crazy to think, because if you go back to their season of The Ultimate Fighter, that was the introduction of the strawweight division into the UFC. There were some big names like Alex Chambers, Jessica Penne, some big names. But the way that it was done was the UFC secretly seeded all of these fighters, and the coaches didn't know about it. Carla Esparza was the number one seeded fighter. She was also the number one pick by Team Pettis. But if you look at it, she was the Invicta strawweight champ at that point.
100% justified. She did go on to win the title.
And she won the title, so exactly that. But it's just crazy to think that they were at that point. Rose Namajunas was, and I want to make sure that I get this one right, she was chosen with the 4th pick by Team Melendez. She was only 22 back then, and she's gone on to do such great things, but not a fighter that fights all that often. I mean, she's 12-4 if you count one of the 3-round fights on The Ultimate Fighter, which we have up on the screen, 11-4 if you don't, but just a wild thing to go from like a fight on The Ultimate Fighter back in 2014 to rematching now, and both fighters still being at the top of their games too.
Which has been really surprising. If you had told me after UFC 217, where Rose Namajunas won the title, when she knocks out Joanna Jędrzejczyk, that Carla Esparza would ever make her way back to a title shot, I'd say that you probably haven't watched MMA in about 3 or 4 years, and I feel like I would have been right at that time to say so. Carla Esparza is like an S-tier Gerald Meerschaert, like an S-tier Paul Craig, and not the fact that they're jiu-jitsu oriented. They're very, very high-level problem solvers, and they figure out what their opponent's weakness is, and then they just find a way to exploit it. And that's why Esparza's wins, especially as of late, they've all been very close, because Esparza is a really interesting fighter. She's extremely dominant on the ground. She is one of the best pure wrestlers in this division, because Tatiana Suarez, I guess, doesn't fight in this division anymore. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about Tatiana here in a little bit. But Carla, to me, really is just, when you think about the premier wrestler at this weight division, you think about Carla Esparza. She knows what she's good at, she knows what she isn't good at. And in this fight against Namajunas, Rose is the way better striker in this matchup. Can throw kicks, can throw in combination, has genuine power on the feet too to end this fight at any moment. Like, she's knocked down Jessica Andrade with a knee, head kicked Weili and knocked her out, and knocked out Joanna with a left hook. I think we can all agree Rose Namajunas has serious power, and it's wild. Like, you bring up what your nickname could be, Slim Reaper. If that was Rose Namajunas' nickname, no one would think twice about it, but she genuinely has incredible power for this division. It's just going to be weird for Esparza because, again, she always finds what her opponent's weakness is and she can exploit it. Against Marina Rodrigues, on the feet, Rodrigues looked phenomenal, but she couldn't get up off of the ground. Yan Xiaonan, on the feet, looked pretty good, but just couldn't deal with the pressure of Carla Esparza. Rose is one of those fighters who, on the feet, let's say these two are 50-50. Esparza at some point is going to have to shoot for a takedown, and no one at the UFC level up until this point has been able to solid prove to me that, hey, I can out-grapple Rose Namajunas, because it is kind of wild. We talk about her a lot with her striking on the feet now. She submitted a lot of fighters on her way up, and I always go back to the Michelle Waterson fight. That's when I really took notice of Rose Namajunas and thought, wow, she can be a world-class fighter in this division, because we talk about JSP when he fought Joe Lozon, how that was a bad loss. When Rose lost to Karolina Kowalkiewicz back at UFC 201, I know I'm going back for this, but I thought that was kind of it for her. I know it's a split decision. It was a really good fight, but I just felt like she was a step behind in that fight, and I never knew if we were going to see her rebuild back up to, a title shot or even be top 5. She went out, put on probably the most dominant performance of her career up until that point against Michelle Waterson. Head kicks her, gets her on the mat, chokes her out with a rear naked choke, and from that moment on, I've kind of been able to see, okay, we know what the full package of Rose Namajunas is. I'm really excited for this rematch.
I mean, you look at it for Carla Esparza, long-time Southern California fighter, Team Oyama's own, and the bread and butter, or where the bread gets buttered, all of it. If we're hanging out at the bakery that is Team Oyama, it's Carla Esparza with her wrestling, with her grappling, with her top pressure, heavy upper body. And with Rose Namajunas, you talk about it when she's on the ground. She's such a slick back taker. She's so good at getting into the right position, not being too high, not getting bucked off, being able to do that. Now, when Zhang Weili made the move over to the States, Fight Ready MMA with Henry Cejudo and his weird pillows, they put the wrestling shoes on Zhang Weili, and she was able to gain the takedown on Rose Namajunas. Wasn't able to do much with them, and you can make an argument that she won that fight, lost that fight, whatever you want to do. I'm not here to have it today, but I will say that, listen, the game plan's there, the blueprint is there, Carla already has the win that's also there. There is an opportunity. Now, again, at 34 and a half, I guess, you don't really count half years when you're 34, but for somebody who's the cookie monster, maybe you do. When you look at it for Esparza, do you see it as a net positive being away for this long as to adding tools to your tool belt and getting that much better?
Not at this age, that's the problem. If she was a younger fighter in her career, and if she wasn't as set in her ways, maybe we would see a whole new added wrinkle. But to me, Carla Esparza doesn't do anything different now from when she was champion. She just kind of does the things she did back then a little bit better now than she did back then. So I don't think we are going to see anything all that new from her. We just might see her wrestling finally be able to win out over the jiu-jitsu of Namajunas, because I know Esparza won their first fight by submission. I do not see that being the case whatsoever in this rematch. I think Namajunas on the mat is going to be tricky enough to where she's probably going to play the I'm going to go for broke, go for a lot of big sweeps. I might end up in a bit of a negative position to go for that really big sweep, because I don't think Esparza at this stage is going to threaten with as many submissions. We really haven't seen that out of her throughout this stage of her career, and this little run she's been able to go on, it's been a lot of full guard control, and that's good against some fighters, but Marina Rodrigues doesn't have a lot of attacks off of her back. She can't really make you pay for that. If you stay in the full guard of Rose Namajunas, she's going to threaten you with an armbar, a triangle choke, go for different sweeps and whatnot, and I do think that maybe not inactivity, because Esparza did look really good her last time out against Yan Xiaonan from the top position. I think that fight's a bit of an outlier. We normally don't see that kind of an activity from Esparza in the top position. Normally she will be a little bit more positionally dominant over just trying to get off her own damage on the ground. And you're right, Weili may have set up the start of a game plan to take down Namajunas, but the difference is Weili can at least match Namajunas on the feet in some rounds of their fight, if not throughout a lot of their fight. I don't think Esparza is going to have a lot of success on the feet in this matchup.
Matt's saying that Esparza, from the start of her career to the point that she is now, she's kind of taken those skills and turned them up. One of those skills, standing against the cage looking pissed off as it gets, and just, yeah, she scares me. She scares me through the television. If they have that 4K thing on there where it blurs out the background, she's staring into my soul. It's like her eyes go black. She's like a demon. We look at the odds for this one. Demon Esparza opening a plus 185, plus 165 right now. And for Namajunas, opens minus 220, minus 200 favorite. Having a look at the Topology votes, Rose Namajunas has 2.5 million Instagram followers. I don't know where they came from, but they're there. I'm going to say they come out in full force, over under 85% Namajunas.
I'll say over.
I'm going to say over. Ooh, it's just slightly under. 795 total votes, 82%. Namajunas is 65% by decision. For the 18% that have Esparza, 78% by decision. I think Namajunas is going to get the win. I think she's better on the feet. I love Carla Esparza's last performance. And Matt, there used to be a talking point that we had about Carla Esparza, and I know I make fun of the mean mugging around the cage. Carla Esparza is somebody that we talked about on this channel for the longest time as a fighter that would always pick up just one little thing every fight. You'd see her do differently or a little bit better, just one little change here or there. In her last fight, it was the ferociousness of the takedown and then getting in there and getting that finish to get her opportunity for a title fight. I'm eager to see, again, maybe an added wrinkle with that 11 months off. But again, to me, I look at Rose Namajunas, the sweeps, the submission abilities of her own, And then again, the fact that she's amplified that striking so much from the Ultimate Fighter season 20, Team Pettis and Melendez to now, I got to go with Rose Namajunas here.
Esparza just doesn't look comfortable on her feet. She never really has, if we're being completely honest. Like, go back and watch the Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight. That really shows how uncomfortable she looks on her feet. Now, that was earlier in her career. She has matured a lot since that performance. But there's never been a fight where Carla Esparza's gone out there and really dominated it with her stand-up. She really does need to implement her wrestling to win fights at this top level in the division. And I don't think taking down Rose Namajunas at this stage of her career is all that easy to do. And I think you're going to need a lot of damage on your way in for your entry. So I do like Namajunas in this matchup, but like you had said to start it off, it's really nice to see both these ladies still maintain their peak at the top of the sport, even after all this time and all these years since their first fight.
Both of us going with the and still in this matchup for Thug Rose Namajunas. Let us know down below in the comment section who you have. Is it Thug Rose, Thug Rose, Thug Rose? Or is it the Cookie Monster Carla Esparza from the Slim Reaper? Both of us going with, like I said, Thug Rose to get the win. And listen, you're not going to want to miss it because 2 hours before the prelims coming up this Saturday, Fight Night Picks question mark kicks. If anybody missed weight, we have the opportunity to really go back and analyze that. So again, 2 hours before the prelims. And for this part of the card, the Fight Night Picks sidekick where we're hanging out here on the channel, opening up that chat, having the conversation with you folks out there. So make sure you tune into that. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. And as we always say, let's get into it.